Welcome to Absolutely Marvel in DC. My name's Benny, that is Dan, and that is Dylan, and we are going to talk about Flash, Season 7, Episode 5, and I'm also going to touch on a little bit on 4.
Yes.
It goes fast.
Because you were not here.
I was not here, I was moving. Welcome to my temporary setup so that I could do my job. I did consider briefly just not working for 2 more weeks, but... I was like, would it really be that bad if I just wasn't on anything for 2 weeks and played all the Assassin's Creeds?
That sounds like you would go insane.
No, I'll talk more about it on the PSG channel, PlayStation and Steam Gamers, the podcast that Dylan and I are going to be filming tomorrow. But I have challenged myself to do all of the Assassin's Creeds and get all their platinums, and I'm only on the second one, and I'm already going insane.
I was going to say, if Benny took time off to say, I'm going to go play just games one day, and he'd be like, how can I monetize this?
Correct.
Play all of them and then talk about it.
I like how you guys make fun of my ability to monetize almost anything I do.
No.
But you're both reaping the benefits.
We're not. It's more the criticizing your lack of being able to relax without turning it into a new project you could work on.
Well, I see for that one, and I'll talk about it on the podcast tomorrow. And if you want to check that channel out, Dylan and I will be linking it down below, PlayStation and Steam Gamers, where we talk about video games every other day, basically. But
Takes both of us to put that link in the description.
But I have in fact turned it into a project, but non-monetizable. I just gave myself the goal of platinuming every Assassin's Creed by the end of the year.
How many Assassin's Creed statues on them am I going to see soon with the business expense excuse? Well, I played the second one, so I bought this second statue.
Anyway, let's talk about Flash, Episode 5. Our review in general of it. Dylan, you can decide if you want to cut out all of that preemptive stuff.
I would never. People are here to... they don't want to hear about Flash. They want to hear about Assassin's Creed trophies. That's why the thumbnail says The Flash in it.
Anyway, guys. So, it's Flash, Episode 5. We officially got for the record, I'm actually happy. I believe we were pronouncing Fuerza. How do you say her name?
Fuerza?
Pretty sure we were saying it properly in our videos we were doing on the other channel.
Hopefully.
It's just a Spanish word. It's not like they made it up. You could have just gone and Googled it.
So, okay, we got Psych, we got Fuerza, we got both of them there, we got the Strength Force, we got the Mind Force popping up. That's the big plot points that is happening. I actually really like the way they're using Psych as a villain. It reminds me of the Thinker season, where we can't just solve our problem by running fast.
True.
What do you guys think about that?
I think Barry's going to solve the problem by running fast.
He's going to run faster than thought.
I think probably he's going to... So, like, you know, the other guys can absorb the other forces, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Barry's just going to learn to do that. And then he's going to absorb their nonsense by running fast.
I would not be surprised, actually, if this turned into a Barry learns to absorb the other forces, and that's how he defeats them.
I'm going to put a spin on that. I could see he's going to learn how to absorb the other forces, but by running faster. He's going to learn that if he runs fast enough, he's going to get like that Wally West power where he just absorbs everything around him.
That'd be cool. He becomes another, like, what was last time we saw Wally? Wasn't he like some kind of monk?
I don't know. Yeah,
he was in Tibet or something, and then he shows back up in like Legends, and he's like, "Yes, I am here. I am at peace."
So, I actually really enjoyed this episode. I didn't find any, like, there wasn't really over the top writing. There wasn't a lot of like crazy stuff going on. I enjoyed what they were doing with Iris, where she's kind of exploring like her PTSD from being that victim for 3 months. Mm-hmm. And I do like they went back to the newspaper. They're like, hey, I'm writing an article. This one's gonna bring us back to the top. Although I wish that's how these jobs worked. I wish we could all just sit around and be like, hey, if we just write one article, man, we're gonna be green again. We're gonna be
one every other week. That's all we need, okay?
It's a huge article, though. You have to be, every other week, you have to be trapped in a mirror dimension for 3 months.
All right, whose turn is it to go to the mirror dimension for the week?
Stagger them.
Oh goodness. I thought the episode was good. The Strength Force, that CG, I'm not the biggest
Wasn't much
fan
of it this week, which is
Yeah, but I've been enjoying it.
Look, I'm assuming last week you guys touched on episode 4 and then probably 5 and how the CG was just not good for Ferrerza. Have you not realized every time they do a full CG creature, it's very low budget? Do we not remember King Shark, Gorilla Grodd?
That's what I said. Last week I said they need to stop doing big CG monsters. I wasn't criticizing
or
the
change
bad
studios.
CG.
Or
I was criticizing the decision to put in another big CG monster. Like there's no reason. They don't need to keep doing that.
I mean, they could have easily had her and not have her Hulk out. You could just be like, and she's strong.
Exactly. Like, you don't need someone to be muscular to be strong. In fact, I don't know about you, I actually almost enjoy it more when it's just some scrawny person that is super strong.
It's just because you want it to be you.
Exactly. I can relate to half of that.
Half of that. I get that, like, I don't know, she doesn't have, like, a super interesting design at first, without being big and hulking mass creature, but, like, I don't know, you could change her design a little, or just, and I know that, like, they wanted to make her mindless for whatever reason, but, you don't need CG for that. You could just give her some contacts and, like, some fake teeth.
They basically just
was she mindless,
let's make the Hulk.
Because she's not mindless in the comics.
She is in the show, but that's what I'm saying. Like,
But
I don't
was she
remember
mindless, though? Nothing she did to me struck me as like, well, she doesn't really know what she's doing. She's really the Hulk.
Well, she didn't say anything. They're definitely telegraphing it that way.
But they're telegraphing it that way. But is that actually what's going on is my point. Like, because yes, you're right. The initial appearance of the Strength Force it's a hulking monster that can't talk. And I think that was intentional so that there wouldn't be any questions. Because, like, if she showed up and she's like, hello, Flash, I'm here to beat you into the ground. Like, there would be a whole nother, like, oh, wait, what?
Well, that's what I'm saying, right? Like if you're gonna argue that her design is going one way, and then they're just gonna, like, start making her talk randomly in, like, an episode or two, then that's just bad. Like, that's not a subversion of expectations. That just sucks.
Well, they could still handle it properly. What if something happens and she just openly said, like, maybe she's hiding that she's intelligent. She did run off when she got shocked. She absorbed the Speed Force balls. I'm calling it that from now on. When he throws the lightning balls, it's his Speed Force balls. When he throws his balls at people.
Sure. Of course. As he's
Take my speed balls.
I'm pretty sure that's going to be the first absolutely Marvel and DC t-shirt. Throwing speed balls.
Hell yeah. I don't know. I think Fairs but, like, the most likely scenario, and hey, maybe they are just like, no, we're not going to do the most likely scenario, is that she's just angry right now because she doesn't know how to control the Strength Force, but then Team Flash is going to help her control the Strength Force, and then she's going to not be She-Hulk anymore. But I don't know. I feel like it would... I'm hoping for that, even though that's the obvious direction. I'm hoping for that just because I don't want to see this gross CG monster anymore.
Right.
What I'm just because of at this point we know the budget for the CW. So whenever they do these big CG monsters, it's 1 or 2 episodes, and then a finale episode that has all the lightning and everyone's running fast. It's pretty much par for the course. So I have a weird feeling Psyche is going to suck her powers out. Or reduce her powers the next time they meet up. When she meets Psyche, he's going to have some way. Because you remember in the comics, the way that this whole encounter happens, Psyche is trying to take everyone else's powers. That's what he's trying to do. Because this, for those who don't know, and this may or may not be the direction the story takes, but in the comics, this is known as the Force Wars. We have the Strength Force, the Sage Force, the Still Force, and the Speed Force. And the goal is there has to be one prominent force, so they're trying to take each other's forces. So I have a feeling that's going to be the excuse to not have her Hulk out, but she'll probably retain a small level of her powers, you know?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I imagine it's going to, I mean, they don't really have, like, a Hulk character in this show, and they name dropped She-Hulk. So, like, I feel like that would make sense that that's the direction they want to go. Like, the writers want to toy with, like, if you get too angry, you'll turn into She-Hulk.
Right.
That's or if you like lose control of your powers or something, or yeah, maybe she gets them sucked away by Psyche. That would make sense. I think it would be more interesting if it's she needs to learn how to control, which I know that is kind of a plot line that they've done in the show before, but I find that more interesting than just villain gets the powers and gets stronger instead.
Right. I think it's either going to be the villain takes it, or it's going to be similar to like the artificial speed force, where they're going to try and get all the forces into some sort of science machine in an attempt to combine them back into the main speed force or the main forces.
I love your term science machine because every season has a science machine that does whatever's needed.
It does something and it just looks like something you would find in like a scientist's lab in like the 1800s.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong at all. I mean,
that's kind of what I'm expecting, though, is that they're going to try and do something like that, and then maybe Psyche will absorb from that. But I feel like they're going to do something. They always do something science related because they have science people on the team that's like their only thing to do. So obviously they're either going to come up with something that will absorb the forces from them. They'll come up with, I don't know, like Ghostbuster things, and they'll absorb the force out of people.
Proton packs. The
Flash would be pretty awesome.
I'm just seeing Vibe with a proton pack.
Because he would just say, don't cross the beams.
I can picture that scene with Cisco with a proton pack, and he's just like, who you gonna call? And then he just starts sucking up Psyche's powers or something.
Let's talk about before we wrap up the discussion on these powers thing, do you think that this is going to be the half-season plot that they did with Bloodwork and then the Mirror Monarch? I want to call it Mirror Master, but it's Mirror Monarch. Because I feel like if the Force Wars is the direction we're going, a whole season of this is going to get very old very quick. We fight Psyche. We run to Psyche. He makes me scared. You know what I mean? Like,
man, you should have been here last week.
Why?
We talked about this already.
If you guys already did, my opinion is I hope that it's going to be a half-season thing, and we can just move on if you guys already discussed it.
I would not be surprised, actually, if this was both halves, but still also a half-season thing where they do the Force or the Force Wars or whatever, and then then Psyche will probably take them all, and then the second half will be dealing with Psyche. Like the first half will be the different forces, and then the second half will be the villain and how we actually deal with this.
While I do agree with you on that, I think it's going to take a little bit of a different direction, and I don't want to spoil it in case they just carbon copy use the comic book plot. But there is a secondary villain that shows up later in that plot line. And the villain's only there for like 6 issues, but there is like a we're all fighting resolution. What is this kind of a situation?
Right.
So
yeah, I think at the rate that they're going, and this is kind of what we said last week, is they introduced Fuerza last week, and now they're introducing Psyche instead of just dealing with Fuerza and then introducing another one. So I do think they're gonna wrap this up in terms of like the immediate threat, and then it's gonna take a backseat, whether that means like Fuerza joins the team and Psyche gets put away, or because like in the premiere they did name drop the Chronarch.
Which I think is probably going to be that what's his name? Paradox?
Yeah.
Towards the end of Joshua Williamson's run, if you weren't following it, there's a villain known as Paradox that shows up, who's literally there to get rid of Barry because he's broken the timeline so many times, and he directly affected him. And since they're bringing up the crisis events again, the Abracadabra thing, because I think that was last week, right? Or is it this week?
Yes.
Last week is Abracadabra?
That was the premiere.
Yeah, okay, so they brought up that the crisis still has affected people who know it. I feel like that may lead to a villain that can literally manipulate time on a master scale, which would be what they're going to battle against towards the end of the season.
If I had to guess, it would be like the first few episodes, like what are we, 7? Season 7, right?
Yeah. And we're on
7A,
5 out of...
Sure. Season 7A will probably be like the forces, and then we'll get hints of the Chronarch, who are probably Argus, in the background, and then 7B will be like dealing with them, and then it'll wrap up with everybody coming together.
If they do that again, I will like that.
Chronarch's going to be time traveling Wells. He'll show
comes
up
back.
when they're about to do the stuff with the forces. He'll take it on himself, and he's now like, I'm a time traveling force master.
Oh,
I would watch
speaking-
that. I'm just gonna say.
Speaking of Wells, Dan, last week you asked if you think or if I thought that Thawne would come back, and I
Yes.
said no, and he did sort of.
He kind of did.
It was CG Thawne, though. I've noticed whenever they want to use Thawne, but
really
they
far
don't
in the
want to
background.
use. He's always really far in the background, and he's always vibrating. Like,
Yeah,
oh,
Vibrating with red
Barry."
eyes.
it's just like a animation that they have in like their template folder. They just
Yeah,
drop
yeah.
in
It's
there.
just a vibrating Thawne whenever we don't want to hire someone to do Thawne. I do want to say one last thing. I do find it a bit weird that we've gone already to psych. So in the comic books, and Dan and I are going to put this together, there was a Strength Force arc and a Sage Force arc. Then there was the They Meet Up arc. So I do find it weird that we didn't deal with the Strike Force in its entirety and then deal with the Sage Force in its entirety. But I do think that partially is due to the fact that this is a television show. Because the way they do it in the comic is he goes to, I think, Mexico or Spain or something like that.
It's
Brazil?
Corto Maltese.
Yeah, and that's where he meets up with Sage Force. Because isn't Corto
No,
Maltese?
Fuerza is from Corto Maltese.
Okay, and then Sage Force is in some like museum location, some like super heist.
Yeah,
Because that's how
in,
they
like,
meet up with him.
Europe somewhere.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is they meet up with them elsewhere. For those who
Right.
don't know, and we'll be doing the comic on our other channel, Comic Storian. Barry's just, he's on a journey with Iris, isn't he? He's like, hey, we're just gonna go spend some time together after the latest.
Oh, that's
thing.
right.
I think so.
Because like she was. Wait, wasn't she trapped in the mirror dimension in the comics? Or no, she was trapped in the future by Thawne.
Yeah,
That's
that
right.
was it. And they finally come back, and Wally just came back at the time in the comics. So Barry was like, Wally, you take care of things. And Wally never did. We
Going on a
didn't even see what
vacation.
Wally did. Yeah.
Damn it, Wally.
That is interesting. I wonder if that's how they came to the conclusion to do the Force Wars, or just maybe that's just lateral thinking. Because the start of this season, Barry is like taking Iris on like cross-world trips and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the Force Wars hits him. So,
For the record, I do want to, before I have one more topic I want to bring up. It's the Caitlyn situation. But why was, I don't understand, and maybe you guys discuss this, why was Iris upset at Barry? First off, why were they not traveling the world for things before? Why was this a new thing Barry was doing? If I have
done
Speed
it
Force
before.
powers, I would have been like, hey, Natalie, do you want crepes? In France?
I think there was a bit of he felt the need to redeem himself because he did get tricked by the fake Iris that
But now
like,
he uses his
he's-
powers for this
I think
romantic
it's
stuff?
honestly, I think it's an overcompensation thing of like, I'm sorry
No,
that I acted that
I know
way.
why he's doing it. I'm
But
saying
yes, no.
why haven't they really done much of that before? Because it's always thrown it as like a one-off, like, oh, we're having an anniversary, so we did this.
I'm
Like,
pretty sure the first time that he revealed his powers to her, they did a similar thing where he was just like, "Here's all the stuff." But I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't want like 5 minutes of every episode dedicated to that. So I'm cool.
Right.
so we're
they
just gonna
haven't been
pretend that
doing
that happens between the episodes.
Exactly.
Like,
It
Yeah,
happens between.
yeah. I'm the Iris and Barry romance relationship has always been kind of strange. So we don't really need to spend.
it's
a
always
lot
been
of
strange
time
is the
on
fact that they were brother and sister, and everyone's like, "No, it's not like
Yeah.
that." I'm like, "It was."
Yeah.
I know you don't want to acknowledge it.
I get it. They've had enough like plot development
Weirdisms,
past
yeah.
that, but like it is definitely weird at its foundation.
I do like their relationship, but okay, let's talk about the next big thing in the room: the Caitlyn situation.
Yeah.
I actually didn't. I liked the idea that they're now separate. I did find it very weird when she had like a whole 5-minute scene just talking to herself.
Why?
Am I the only one that found that weird? Like she's literally just having a whole
fine to
conversation.
me.
No.
I think it was just the editing choices to make it viable because obviously she just filmed one whole side and the other whole side, so they just kept cutting
No.
back and forth.
No, she talked in one, changed her outfit, walked to the other side, talked in that one, changed her
cut all
outfit,
that
walked
out.
back. I mean,
Yeah.
I thought it was fine. It didn't seem weird to me.
It also felt kind of weirdly, I don't know, like I get the whole idea was like Caitlyn doesn't really know what Killer Frost is thinking. Killer Frost doesn't know what Caitlyn's thinking. And obviously with the cliffhanger at the end of this episode of Killer Frost is now going to have to answer for her crimes. That's why they did this. So we don't have to worry about Caitlyn Snow. We could do Killer Frost having to deal with her crimes without jailing up the smart scientist girl. You know what I mean? For reasons.
Yeah, which is kind of the opposite of what we were expecting, Dan, last week. Because I know we were thinking they were doing this to write Caitlyn out of the show. It looks like they might be doing this to write Frost out of the show, which I doubt.
I hope not, because I actually prefer her as Killer Frost over Caitlyn Snow. She's just more fun. Like I like the friendly Killer Frost.
Yeah. I agree with Killer Frost over Caitlyn, and I think the problem is early on there was the two scientists who can solve every problem. As the seasons have gone on, Caitlyn Snow has become redundant. Because Vibe can just do everything. And I feel like the writers just find it easier to go, yeah, Cisco does it all. You know what I mean? Like, he just does every little bit of there is. Well, and then everything beyond that, it's like, well, Barry alerted biological stuff so we don't have to bring Caitlyn in for a whole scene. You know what I mean? Like,
and that was when they were like... Sorry, I was going to say, that was when they were just like, you know what? Let's just say that Caitlyn is letting Killer Frost use her body.
Yeah.
We'll do that. Because then they brought in Chester as well, and it's like,
he's
okay,
another
now we have
super
another
intelligent
scientist.
That's what I was gonna say.
It's funny because Arrow has all these like Batman wannabes, and then none of them could figure anything out. And then over here, Flash are like, I have too many scientists.
Right? Yeah, they've written themselves into a point where it's like they have a bunch of characters that can kind of cover the same thing. Yeah. So it's I think this season a lot of it is either going to be restructuring certain characters or writing them off. So who knows? Like, to be fair, like in this episode, we didn't see Camilla, we didn't see Allegra, we didn't see Chester. It was kind of a more pared down, like, we got Cecile instead of like the other side characters that are usually around.
Cecile and Cerebro.
Yeah.
I still think that has a lot to do with the pandemic and the choices to limit the people on the set, but I actually like this because we aren't just getting, the Flash has 10 cast members. You know what I mean?
You've mentioned COVID like affecting the filming of this a few times now, and I just don't agree because it doesn't seem any different from it's just smart writing to like not have all of your cast constantly there, and in the previous episode they were all there.
So what I'm saying is I think it's a side effect of that where it becomes a game of like, because I mean, and we could all, I don't know if you disagree or not, but probably like up to season 4 or 5, it was almost like a mandatory thing to include everyone and give them a line.
Right.
I remember one particular scene and the infamous We Are Flash scene where everyone basically like piggybacked off of the same statement, almost like there's supposed to be one person, but we have to give everyone a line so they all have a scene. You know what I mean? And it was just a weird, and I feel like as a aftermath, like, and maybe in this particular episode wasn't affected, but I think when they started filming, it was like a mandate of limit who's on each episode so that we don't have like 10 people on the cast in one location right next to each other. Try to do 5 or 6. And I think as a side effect, they've been like, we don't have to put everyone in every episode. We can do Camille in her own thing.
I guess the reason why I would prefer it to be a writing decision other than a COVID restriction, because if it's a writing decision, that means the writers are being smart and they're handling this ensemble cast well. Otherwise, it's just like, that if it's a COVID thing, then that says to me like once the entire crew gets vaccinated and the COVID restrictions on the CW lot or whatever lift, then the show's just going to get horrible. Because you know what? I guess Legends of Tomorrow will be a real test of whether or not COVID is affecting these shows.
If whole cast members are like, I'm staying on the ship this episode.
You know what? If they did it in Legends of Tomorrow, that they would just straight up like start making fun of it or saying it like, why are you standing over there? Well, I like to be socially distant while I'm on a ship.
I mean, in all honesty, though, you got to think about it. They're probably limiting how many people are on the set. So
they do because they have to like test everyone on their way in as well in terms of like.
So if you limit the cast members by limiting having everyone on the set, then you could get more cameramen, more lighting guys, more grit. You know what I mean? You can get everyone else. That's why I think it's affecting it. I don't think it's as noticeable. Like I think I'm a little more aware of it, just because like pandemic has changed so much stuff in my life. I think I'm just like, oh wow. the show's doing better because they're not putting everyone on the show. Why would that change have finally happened? Probably a pandemic restriction to not bring in 15 cast members for today's episode.
Right.
We don't need the scene of everyone in the Flash family sitting around going, what do we do, Barry?
Why aren't you running faster, Barry?
I was surprised that in the scene where I think it was Cecile was talking to Barry and giving him sort of a pep talk, and the amount of restraint that the writers showed to not make Cecile say "Run, Barry, run."
Yes.
Good for them. Good job.
I'm wondering if the choice of who's in each episode is going to be related to the fact that there are multiple forces. And I'm wondering if they're going to try and make it like a kind of divided up thing. So it's like when it's the Mind Force, Cecile's going to be one of the main characters involved in that. When it's this force, this is going to be one of the characters. That way, because with Force Wars, with those different things, it could get a little complicated, so I'm wondering if that might be a method that they're going in to kind of make the COVID thing a little bit work for them. So that, like,
yeah, I mean
that's just kind of what I'm thinking.
COVID is obviously affecting like a lot of shows, and some shows are writing them into writing COVID into their stories, which is hit or miss. But I think Maybe it is something that the writers needed, because I feel like for a while they were just kind of doing whatever, and that can be a hindrance to a writing team or just any creative. Like if you're just given free reign, then you don't have to work around anything.
Yeah.
So I think that whether it was a decision that they were just like, let's pare down the cast and because we have too many characters, or if it was, hey, we can only have a certain amount of actors on set, so you need to pare down the cast. The end result is that the cast is smaller now, which is good. So.
Yeah, I mean, I like how you're saying, oh, you wish that the artists are smart. I actually want to give them credit, because if it is a COVID thing, they are very intelligently doing this, and it's not blatantly obvious.
Yeah.
It
feels like a part of the story.
Yeah. It does feel organic.
Regardless of the impetus behind the change, they're handling it well, which is good.
Yeah. So, all right, well, that's our discussion here about Flash Episode 7. If you want to see me and Dylan talk about video games, please check out PSG. The link will be down below. I have a feeling he's going to cut out my opening promos because this episode's too long as it stands. So if you want to hear our thoughts on various video games, the stuff going on in the video game world, just like these videos, please consider coming over to our new channel. We've launched a gaming channel, and then this one's doing a lot better. We'd love to get some of you guys over there at the gaming side. I guess Dylan's going to do a solo Supergirl this week, but I will watch this episode and be with him next week. I was telling him before this, I sat down to watch Supergirl and forgot I was watching Supergirl and binged watched every episode of The Connors.
It's more important, clearly.
But stick around for Benny's episode on The Connors.
Oh, true.
And the new Rock show. I watched all of that too last night. I literally sat down and was like, all right, I got to finish The Flash so we can do our show today. And I was like, no, Flash is done. I'm like, there should be something else I'm supposed to watch. Oh, no, Superman ended. Connors.
This break on Superman, for the record, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm worried my hype's going to...
Yeah.
So I will be here next week with Dylan for a Supergirl talk. Please check out PSG. Dan is over on Twitch, twitch.tv/Silo91 every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And we will be here next Flash episode. And we'll be here tomorrow for Falcon and Winter Soldier. Woo!